Commander Zexthari stood on the bridge of his ship, the Void Seeker. His red eyes looked at the small blue planet below. Earth, the third planet from a yellow star. His scouts had told him about the creatures living there. Humans, they called themselves. Zexthari was from the Calarian Empire. His people had taken over many worlds. They were strong fighters with powerful weapons. When they found new planets with weak creatures, they always won. It was easy. The weak always gave up. Quickly. "Commander," said his officer, "the scouting reports are ready." Zexthari took the datapad. The humans seemed simple. They had basic ships and old weapons. They fought each other often on their own planet. Perfect. Another easy victory for the Empire. "Send the attack signal," Zexthari ordered. 3 ships should be enough. Far above Earth, Captain Jake Sullivan was having a quiet day on the space station New Horizon. He was drinking coffee and reading reports when the alarm started screaming. "Captain," shouted Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. 3 unknown ships just appeared. "They're huge." Jake ran to the main screen. 3 massive alien ships hung in space like dark clouds. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Strange symbols glowed along their hulls. "Are they trying to talk to us?" Jake asked. "No, sir," said the communications officer. "They're charging weapons." Jake's blood turned cold. "All ships, this is New Horizon. We have hostile aliens in the system." "Repeat, hostile aliens." The first alien beam hit the civilian transport ship Morning Star. The ship was carrying 300 families to Mars. Men, women, and children. Jake watched the transport explode in a ball of fire. "Those monsters," Amy whispered. "They killed civilians." Jake grabbed the ship's radio. "All Defense Force ships, attack pattern Alpha. Protect the civilian ships at all costs." "But Captain," said his second officer, "we only have 6 fighters and 2 patrol ships. They have 3 battleships." "I don't care if they have 300, Jake said. "No one kills our people and gets away with it." The human fighters were small and old. Their weapons were weak compared to the alien ships. But Jake had something the aliens didn't expect. He had pilots who would never give up. Amy Carter climbed into her fighter, the Blue Angel. Her hands shook as she started the engine. She had never fought aliens before. None of them had. But she thought about the families on the Morning Star, the children who would never grow up. "This is Blue Angel," she said over the radio. "I'm going in." Amy flew straight at the biggest alien ship. The enemy fired at her, but she was too fast and too angry to be scared. She dodged the beams and fired her missiles at their weapons. On the Void Seeker, Commander Zexthari watched in shock. The small human ship should have run away. Instead, it was attacking his flagship. "Sir," said his weapons officer, "the human is targeting our main gun." "Impossible," Zexthari said. "Destroy it." But Amy was already inside the alien ship's defenses. She fired everything she had at the weapon systems. Her missiles hit home, and explosions rocked the alien ship. "Direct hit," she shouted. "Their main weapon is down." Jake coordinated the attack from New Horizon. His small fleet moved like a pack of wolves, striking fast and hard. When the aliens expected them to run, the humans attacked. When the aliens tried to chase one ship, 3 others hit them from behind. Lieutenant Dan Murphy flew his fighter into the path of alien beams meant for a hospital ship. His ship exploded, but the hospital ship escaped with 2,000 patients. Sergeant Carol Brown used her patrol ship to ram an alien fighter, destroying both ships. Her last words over the radio were, "Get the kids to safety." The aliens had never seen anything like it. These humans fought like demons. They didn't care about dying. They only cared about protecting others. "Commander," said the Calarian officer, "we've lost 40% of our weapons. The humans are destroying our fighters." Zexthari couldn't believe it. How were these primitive creatures winning? Amy Carter made her final attack run. Her fighter was damaged and smoking, but she flew straight at the alien flagship's hangar bay. "Amy, no!" Jake shouted over the radio. "Pull back!" "Sorry, Captain," Amy said calmly. "Someone has to stop them." She crashed her fighter deep inside the alien ship. The explosion destroyed the hangar and damaged the main reactor. The flagship began to lose power. All ships retreat, Zexathari ordered. He had lost most of his fighters, and 2 ships were badly damaged. Send a message to the Empire. Tell them about these humans. As the alien ships limped away, Jake looked at the damage. 3 of his 8 ships were gone. 12 good people were dead. But they had saved over 5,000 civilians. Captain, said the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the aliens. Put it on screen, Jake said. Commander Zexathari appeared on the screen. His red eyes were wide with something Jake had never seen in an alien before. Fear. Human, Zexathari said slowly. What are you? Jake stood straight. We are the people. You just made a big mistake attacking. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke again, his voice shaking. The humans fight like demons. They don't fear death. All ships must leave this system immediately. The transmission ended. The alien ships disappeared into space, running as fast as they could. Jake looked out at the stars. He knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would be back, and they would bring more ships. But they had learned something important today. Humans would fight for their families. They would die for strangers, and they would never ever give up. Sir, asked a young officer, do you think they'll come back? Jake smiled grimly. Maybe, but next time they'll know what they're dealing with. In space, pieces of alien and human ships drifted together. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. And somewhere in the galaxy, other aliens were about to learn a very important lesson. Never attack a human's family. 3 months had passed since the alien attack on Earth. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A small human fleet had defeated the mighty Calarian Empire. Most aliens didn't believe it at first. High Arbitrator Velnoth received the report on his homeworld of Axeria. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large black eyes. His people, the Axerians, had not fought a war in over 1,000 years. They believed in peace and talking to solve problems. Velnoth read the Calarian battle report 3 times. Each time it seemed more impossible. How could such a primitive species defeat trained Calarian warriors? Summon the council, Velnoth ordered his assistant. We need to investigate these humans. The Galactic Council was made up of 12 different alien species. They had kept peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. When there were problems, they talked. When someone broke the rules, they stopped trading with them. It always worked. But humans were different. They were new. And they were dangerous. Dr. Lisa Brooks stood at the window of her small apartment on Luna Colony. She was Earth's first xenobiologist, a person who studied alien life. Now she was also Earth's first diplomat to meet with aliens. Lisa was nervous. In a few days, she would meet with the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They would decide if humans were allowed to live in space, or if they had to stay on Earth forever. Dr. Brooks, said Colonel Pete Mason, walking into the room. Pete was a soldier who had fought in the battle 3 months ago. His left arm was in a metal brace from his injuries. The transport is ready. Lisa looked at Pete. He was a good man, who had risked his life to save others. But to the aliens, he was proof that humans were violent and dangerous. Are you sure you want to come with me? Lisa asked. Your injuries might scare them. Pete smiled. Doc, if they can't handle seeing a wounded soldier, how are they going to handle meeting humans? The journey to the neutral space station took 3 days. The station was huge, bigger than any human city. It was built by the Council as a place where different species could meet safely. When Lisa and Pete stepped off their ship, they saw aliens everywhere. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living crystal. There were creatures that floated in the air, and others that rolled instead of walked. Stay close, Lisa whispered to Pete. And remember, no sudden movements. High Arbitrator Velnoth met them in the main hall. He was surrounded by other council members. Lisa could feel their eyes studying her and Pete like they were dangerous animals. Humans, Velnoth said in perfect English. Welcome to Harmony Station. I am High Arbitrator Velnoth. We need to discuss your species' future in the galaxy. Lisa bowed politely. Thank you for meeting with us, High Arbitrator. I am Dr. Lisa Brooks, and this is Colonel Pete Mason. The aliens stepped back when they saw Pete's battle scars. One of them, a creature that looked like a walking tree, made a sound like breaking branches. Is this one of your warriors? Asked the tree creature. The ones who destroyed the Calarian fleet? Pete nodded. Yes, sir. I was there. Fascinating, said another alien, this one covered in scales. You show your battle wounds with pride. Most civilized species hide such things. The council led Lisa and Pete to a great hall with a round table. Holographic screens showed images from all over the galaxy. In the center was a recording of the battle at Earth. We have studied your species extensively, Velnoth began. What we have found disturbs us. The screens lit up with images from human history. Ancient battles with swords and shields. World wars with millions of dead. Modern conflicts that lasted for years. Your species has been at war for its entire existence, said the scaled alien. You have weapons designed only to kill. You train your children to fight. This is not the behavior of a civilized people. Lisa felt her heart sink. How could she explain that humans were more than their wars? You're not wrong, she said carefully. Humans do fight. We have had many wars, but there's something else you need to understand. What could possibly justify such violence? Asked the tree creature. Lisa looked at Pete, who gave her an encouraging nod. We fight for each other, Lisa said. We fight to protect the innocent. We fight because sometimes talking isn't enough to stop evil. The aliens looked at each other. They whispered in languages Lisa couldn't understand. Words, said Velnoth finally. Easy to say, but we have seen the evidence of your aggression. The council must vote on whether to quarantine your species. Before Lisa could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed and automated voices spoke in dozens of alien languages. What's happening? Pete asked, his hand moving to where his weapon would be if he had one. Velnoth's face went pale. Emergency transmission from the Moralian homeworld. They're under attack. The main screen showed a beautiful blue-green planet covered in floating cities, but now the cities were burning. Dark ships swarmed around the planet like angry wasps. The Drektar horde, whispered the scaled alien. They've found Moralia. Lisa watched in horror as the alien raiders destroyed city after city. The Moralians were peaceful creatures who looked like dolphins with arms and hands. They had never hurt anyone. How many people live on that planet? Lisa asked. 40 million, Velnoth said quietly. They have no weapons, no armies. They depend on council protection. Then send your fleets, Pete said. Stop the attack. The aliens looked uncomfortable. The tree creature made that breaking branch sound again. The council species don't have military fleets, Velnoth admitted. We have trade ships and exploration vessels, but no warships. We've had peace for so long that we forgot how to fight. Lisa stared at them. You mean you can't help them? We will file a formal complaint with the Drektar leadership, said the scaled alien. We will threaten economic sanctions. Those people will be dead before your complaint is filed, Pete said angrily. On the screen, a Moralian city full of children exploded in flames. The Drektar ships moved on to the next target. Pete stood up suddenly. Dr. Brooks, we need to go back to our ship. Colonel, wait, Lisa said. We're in the middle of negotiations. Pete looked at the burning planet on the screen, then at the aliens sitting around the table doing nothing. Negotiations can wait, Pete said. People are dying. Velnoth watched. Pete walked toward the door. Where are you going, human? Pete stopped and turned around. His scarred face was hard as stone. To do what you can't, Pete said. To fight. The aliens gasped. Fighting was exactly what they were afraid humans would do. Colonel Mason, Velnoth called out. You have 12 soldiers on a small transport ship. The Drektar horde has hundreds of warships. It would be suicide. Pete smiled grimly. High Arbitrator, you want to understand humans? Then watch what we do when innocent people need help. As Pete left the hall, Lisa stood up to follow him. Dr. Brooks, Velnoth said, If your people attack the Drektar horde, it will prove that humans are too aggressive for galactic civilization. The council will vote to quarantine your entire species. Lisa looked at the burning cities on the screen. Then she looked at the aliens who had the power to help, but chose not to. Maybe, Lisa said quietly, the question isn't whether humans are too aggressive for your civilization. Maybe it's whether your civilization deserves humans at all. She walked out of the hall, leaving the aliens to stare at the screens showing a planet dying while they sat and talked. In the docking bay, Pete was already preparing the ship for departure. The human soldiers were checking their weapons and armor. "Doc," Pete said when he saw Lisa, "you don't have to come with us. This is going to be rough." Lisa climbed aboard the ship. "Colonel, those aliens think humans are monsters because we fight. Let's show them what real monsters look like when they hurt the innocent." As the human ship left the station, Velnoth and the other council members watched from the observation deck. "They're really going," whispered the tree creature. 12 humans against a horde. Velnoth activated the long-range sensors. "Follow them," he ordered. "Record everything. If we're about to witness the end of the human species, the council needs to see exactly what kind of beings they were." The small human ship disappeared into hyperspace, racing toward a planet full of strangers who needed saving. Behind them, the most powerful beings in the galaxy could only watch and wait to see what humans would do when faced with impossible odds. The answer would change the galaxy forever. Back on Harmony Station, the council members sat in shocked silence. They had watched 12 humans face impossible odds to save alien children. None of them had ever seen anything like it. High Arbitrator Velnoth replayed the battle recordings for the 4th time. Each viewing made him more confused. The humans had known they were going to die. Their weapons couldn't hurt the enemy ships. Any logical species would have retreated. "I don't understand," said Council Member Thrix, the scaled alien. "Why didn't they save themselves?" "Their behavior makes no sense," agreed Council Member Groot, who looked like a walking tree. "They gained nothing from this fight. No territory, no resources, nothing." Dr. Lisa Brooks entered the council chamber with Colonel Pete Mason beside her. Pete's uniform was torn and burned from the battle. His metal arm brace was cracked, but he stood straight and proud. "Humans," Velnoth said, carefully. "We need to discuss what happened at Moralia." Lisa nodded. "Of course, High Arbitrator, what would you like to know?" "Why did you do it?" Velnoth asked directly. "You could have all been killed. Your entire species could have been quarantined because of your actions. Why risk everything? For strangers?" Pete smiled tiredly. "Because it was the right thing to do." The aliens looked at each other. The right thing to do. They had heard this phrase before in human transmissions, but they didn't understand what it meant. "Explain," demanded Thrix. "What is the right thing to do?" Lisa thought for a moment. How could she explain human morality to beings who had never faced such choices? "When someone needs help, you help them," Lisa said simply. "When someone is in danger, you protect them. When evil people hurt innocent children, you stop them. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien. It doesn't matter if you gain anything from it. You do it because it's right." "But you could have died," Groot protested. "Your species could have been destroyed," Pete shrugged. "So what? If we let children die when we could have saved them, what kind of people would we be?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Velnoth realized that the humans were judging them just as much as they were judging the humans. "You think we're cowards?" Velnoth said quietly. "No," Lisa replied. "We think you've forgotten something important." "What have we forgotten?" asked Thrix. Pete stepped forward. His battle scars caught the light from the station's windows. "You've forgotten that some things are worth dying for." Before anyone could respond, alerts began sounding throughout the station. An aide rushed into the chamber with urgent news. "High Arbitrator," the aide gasped. "We're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Dozens of species are requesting human protection." Velnoth's eyes widened. "Protection?" The aide activated a holographic display. Messages poured in from all corners of known space. The peaceful Centauri wanted humans to guard their trade routes. The scholarly Batans requested human escorts for their research ships. Even the proud Altarians were asking for human military advisors. They all want the same thing, the aide continued. They want humans to protect them from raiders, pirates, and hostile neighbors. Thrix made a hissing sound of disbelief. This is unprecedented. No species has ever requested military protection from another. The humans have become legendary, Groot observed. Word of their courage has spread everywhere. Lisa felt overwhelmed. We never wanted to be galactic protectors, we just wanted to help those children. But that's exactly why everyone wants your help, Velnoth realized. You don't fight for conquest or profit, you fight for others. Pete looked at the messages streaming across the display. Hundreds of worlds asking for human help. It was more responsibility than he had ever imagined. Sir, Pete said to Velnoth, what does the council think about all this? Velnoth was quiet for a long time. The other council members whispered among themselves in their native languages. Finally, the High Arbitrator spoke. Colonel Mason, Velnoth said formally, may I ask you a personal question? Sure, Pete replied. Do you have a family? Pete pulled out a photo from his uniform pocket. It showed a woman with kind eyes and 2 young children. My wife Sarah and my kids Tommy and Emma. They live on Mars Colony. And Dr. Brooks, Velnoth continued. Do you have family? Lisa nodded. My parents live in New York. My brother is a teacher in California. Yet you both risk your lives for alien children you had never met, Velnoth said. Children who aren't even the same species as your own families. Those Moralian children have families too, Lisa said. Parents who love them, brothers and sisters who depend on them. What makes them different from Tommy and Emma? The question hit Velnoth like a physical blow. In all his centuries of life, he had never thought about aliens that way. Other species were trading partners or political allies, but not family. You see them as people, Velnoth whispered. Not just aliens. People. Pete nodded. Every sentient being in the galaxy has someone who loves them. Every child who dies is someone's whole world ending. Councilmember Thrix leaned forward. But humans are violent. We have evidence of constant warfare throughout your history. You're right, Lisa admitted. Humans do fight, but we've learned something important from all that fighting. What? Asked Groot. We've learned the difference between fighting for evil and fighting against it, Lisa said. We've learned that violence isn't always wrong. Sometimes it's necessary to protect the innocent. Pete pointed at the battle recordings still playing on the screens. Those Drektar raiders were evil. They killed for pleasure. We fought to stop them. Can you see the difference? Velnoth studied the recordings again. The Drektar were destroying everything beautiful and innocent on Moralia. The humans were trying to save it. The Council has debated human aggression for months, Velnoth said slowly. We were asking the wrong question. What do you mean? Lisa asked. We asked if humans were too dangerous to be allowed in the galaxy, Velnoth continued. But we should have asked if the galaxy deserves to have humans protecting it. The chamber fell silent. The weight of Velnoth's words settled over everyone like a blanket. High Arbitrator, Pete said carefully. What are you saying? Velnoth stood up, his tall form casting shadows across the room. I'm saying that in 3,000 years of civilization, no council species has ever willingly died for strangers. We fight for resources, territory, or survival, but never for abstract concepts like justice or protecting the innocent. He gestured at the battle recordings. Your species possesses something we lost long ago. You call it honor, courage, selflessness. We call it impossible. It's not impossible, Lisa said. It's just human. Thrix spoke up. The Council must vote on humanity's status in galactic civilization. But after what we've seen, I don't think quarantine is the right answer anymore. What do you propose? Asked Groot. Velnoth looked out the station's main window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, evil beings like the Drektar were hurting innocent people. And somewhere else, Humans were preparing to stop them. I propose we establish the Human Protection Protocols, Velnoth announced. Any species threatened by raiders, invaders, or oppressors can request human military assistance. The other council members gasped. This was completely unprecedented in galactic law. But, Velnoth continued, there must be strict conditions. Humans will only engage in defensive operations. They must leave immediately after the threat is neutralized. They cannot claim territory or demand payment. Pete looked at Lisa. This was exactly what they had hoped for but never dared to ask. The council would trust us with that kind of responsibility? Lisa asked. Dr. Brooks, Velnoth said solemnly, your species just proved that you can be trusted with the most important responsibility of all, the lives of innocent children. As the council members began discussing the details of the protection protocols, Pete's communicator buzzed. It was a message from Admiral Jake Sullivan. Pete. Jake's voice crackled over the speaker. We've got another situation. The Rigel system is under attack by unknown hostiles. 3 colonies, about 2 million civilians. They're asking for our help. Pete looked at Lisa, then at the council members who were still debating. Tell them we're on our way, Pete said into the communicator. Velnoth overheard the conversation. Colonel, the protection protocols haven't been officially approved yet. Pete stood up and straightened his uniform. High Arbitrator, people are dying right now. We can discuss paperwork later. As Pete walked toward the door, Velnoth called after him. Colonel Mason, why do you do this? Why do humans take on such burdens? Pete stopped and turned around. His scarred face was calm but determined. Because someone has to, Pete said simply. And if not us, then who? After Pete left, the council chamber was quiet. Velnoth looked at the other members. All in favor of the human protection protocols? Every hand in the room went up. Outside the station, Pete's transport ship prepared for another impossible mission. Inside, 12 humans checked their weapons and prepared to risk their lives for strangers they had never met. It was just another day of being human. Dr. Lisa Brooks watched the ship disappear into hyperspace. She knew that somewhere in the galaxy, innocent people were about to learn what it meant to be protected by humans. And somewhere else, evil beings were about to learn what it meant to face them. 6 months after the Galactic Council approved the human protection protocols, the galaxy was a different place. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Guardian's Shield. It was humanity's first purpose-built peacekeeping vessel, designed not to conquer, but to protect. Admiral, reported his communications officer, we're getting distress calls from 17 different systems. Pirates at Vega 7, raiders at Alpha Centauri, and something big happening at Kepler Station. Jake looked at the star map showing all the requests for help. Red lights blinked across the galaxy like an emergency room monitor. How many ships do we have available? Jake asked. 14 peacekeeping vessels, sir. All with full human crews. Jake did the math. 17 emergencies, 14 ships. Someone wasn't going to get help in time. Prioritize civilian populations, Jake ordered. Send ships to protect the largest number of innocent people first. This was the new reality. Humans had become the galaxy's guardians, but there were never enough of them to save everyone. Every day, Jake had to make impossible choices about who lived and who died. On Earth, President Maria Santos was meeting with her military advisors. The Human Protection Corps had become Earth's largest military organization, with volunteers from every nation. Madam President, said General Robert Stone, we're getting 10,000 applications for the Corps every day, but our training facilities can only handle 1,000. President Santos looked tired. The weight of galactic responsibility was heavy, on human shoulders. What about the alien requests for human colonies, she asked. How many worlds want us to establish permanent bases? 47 so far, General Stone replied. They're offering us entire planets in exchange for protection. President Santos shook her head. Absolutely not. We're protectors, not colonizers. The moment we start taking territory, we become conquerors. This was the line humans refused to cross. They would fight for others, but they wouldn't rule over them. Meanwhile, in deep space, the most dangerous threat the galaxy had ever seen was approaching. The Void Devourers were a machine intelligence from outside the galaxy. They consumed entire worlds to fuel their endless expansion. The first sign of their arrival came from the edge of Calarian space. Commander Zexathari, the same Calarian who had attacked Earth months before, was now fighting for his people's survival. "This is Commander Zexathari to any ship that can hear this," he broadcast desperately. "The Void Devourers have entered our system. They've already consumed 3 planets. Our homeworld has maybe 6 hours before we're all dead." The message reached Earth just as Admiral Jake was planning the next peacekeeping mission. He stared at the transmission in disbelief. "Sir," asked his first officer, "are we really going to help the Calarians? They tried to destroy us." Jake thought about it for a long moment. The Calarians had killed innocent human civilians. They had started this whole conflict. Justice said they deserved whatever happened to them. But Jake wasn't thinking about justice. He was thinking about the millions of Calarian children who had never hurt anyone. "All ships," Jake announced over the fleet communication system, "set course for Calarian space. Maximum speed." "Sir," protested Captain Linda Hayes, "that's 30 ships. We'll be leaving entire sectors undefended." "Those sectors don't have 6 hours left," Jake replied grimly. "The Calarians do." The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, racing toward their former enemy's homeworld. Behind them, they left dozens of other species unprotected. But sometimes being a guardian meant making hard choices. When the human ships arrived at SciFiPrime, they found a nightmare. The Void Devourers were massive machines the size of cities. They landed on planets like metal insects and began eating everything. Buildings, trees, people, even the ground itself. "Dear God," whispered Captain Tom Bradley as he saw the devastation. "What are those things?" The Void Devourers didn't communicate, they didn't negotiate. They just consumed everything in their path and moved on to the next world. Commander Zexathari's ship was badly damaged and running on emergency power. His crew was preparing to die fighting when the human fleet appeared. "Human ships," Zexathari transmitted. "This is Commander Zexathari. Why are you here?" Jake's voice came back clear and strong. "Because that's what we do, Commander. We protect life. All life." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Void Devourers were immune to most weapons, but humans had something the machines couldn't understand: creativity and sacrifice. Captain Susan Clark flew her ship directly into a Void Devourer's intake port, detonating her fusion reactor and destroying the machine from inside. Her last words were, "Tell my kids their mom fought monsters." Lieutenant Gary Miller used his engineering skills to reprogram a captured Void Devourer and turn it against its own kind. The machine civil war bought precious time for civilian evacuations. Commander Zexathari fought alongside the humans, his ship protecting human rescue vessels from Void Devourer attacks. For the first time in his life, he was fighting not to conquer, but to save others. "Human Admiral," Zexathari called over the radio, "my weapons are depleted and my ship is dying. It has been an honor fighting beside your people." "The honor is ours, Commander," Jake replied. "Thank you for protecting our rescue ships." As Zexathari's ship exploded in a final desperate ramming attack, Jake realized something important. The Calarian wasn't just fighting for his own people anymore. He was fighting for the humans who had come to save his world. The battle raged for 18 hours. When it was over, the Void Devourers had been driven back to deep space. Calaria. Prime was saved, though badly damaged. Millions of Calarian civilians owed their lives to human sacrifice. In the aftermath, Commander Zexathari found Jake in the medical bay of the Guardian Shield. The human admiral was injured but alive. "Admiral Sullivan," Zexathari said, his voice full of emotion, "your people could have let my world burn for what we did to you. Why did you come?" Jake looked up from his hospital bed. His answer was simple and honest. "Because that's not who we are, Commander. We protect life even when it doesn't deserve it. That's what makes us human." Zexathari felt tears running down his face. In his warrior culture, tears were a sign of weakness. But these weren't tears of weakness. They were tears of understanding. Your species could have conquered the galaxy by now, Zexithari said. You have the strength. Why do you choose to be guardians instead of rulers? Jake smiled weakly. Because anyone can destroy. It takes real strength to protect. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. The humans had saved their worst enemies without asking for anything in return. Species that had never heard of Earth began sending messages of support. High Arbitrator Velnoth called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Hall of Harmony Station. Fellow beings, Velnoth announced, we gathered today to honor the humans and establish new galactic law. On the main screen, images showed human ships protecting dozens of different worlds. Human soldiers giving their lives for alien children. Human doctors treating enemy wounded. The humans have shown us something we thought was impossible, Velnoth continued. They have shown us that strength and compassion can exist in the same being. The crowd of aliens murmured in agreement. Some species that had been at war for centuries began talking about peace. Therefore, Velnoth declared, the Council establishes the human creed to be posted in every spaceport, every government building, and every school in the galaxy. The Great Hall fell silent as Velnoth read the words that would become legendary. Humans are off limits. We don't injure them. Not because we fear them, but because they are the guardians of everything we hold dear. They stand between the darkness and the light, asking nothing in return but the chance to do what's right. The crowd erupted in cheers that could be heard throughout the station. Representatives from species that had never cooperated began planning joint colonies and trade agreements. But the real celebration was happening on a small planet called Moralia, where thousands of children who had been saved by 12 human marines were playing in floating gardens that had been rebuilt stronger than before. Teacher Velkani watched her students play. One of them, a little girl who had been injured in the Drektar attack, was showing the others a picture she had drawn. It showed a human soldier with a medical kit, helping a young Moralian with a broken arm. At the bottom, in careful alien script, she had written family. Velkani smiled. The child had learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. It didn't matter what species you were born as. What mattered was who you chose to protect. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, alien, children played games where they pretended to be human heroes. Parents told bedtime stories about brave humans who traveled across space to help strangers. And in the dark corners of space, pirates and raiders whispered fearful warnings to each other. Don't touch the innocents. The humans will come for you. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in the universe. Some battles are worth fighting. Some people are worth saving. And some species are willing to give everything to protect others. The humans had taught them that the greatest strength wasn't the power to destroy your enemies. It was the courage to save them instead. The human transport ship dropped out of hyperspace near the Moralian homeworld. What Colonel Pete Mason saw made his heart sink. The planet was covered in smoke and fire. Dozens of Drektar ships swarmed around it like metal vultures. Jesus, whispered Sergeant Kate Williams, the team medic. Look at all of them. Pete counted at least 50 enemy ships. Some were as big as space stations. His transport only had 12 Marines and basic weapons. Any sane person would turn around and, leave, sir, said Lieutenant Chris Parker. Maybe we should call for backup. There is no backup, Pete replied. It's just us. In the transport's communication room, Dr. Lisa Brooks was talking to High Arbitrator Velnoth on Harmony Station. The aliens were watching everything through long-range sensors. Dr. Brooks, Velnoth said, you're facing impossible odds. No one will blame you if you retreat. Lisa looked out the window at the burning planet. High Arbitrator, watch what humans do when we can't save everyone. We save who we can. On the planet's surface, the situation was desperate. The Moralian cities floated on anti-gravity platforms high above the ocean. The Drektar raiders were smashing them one by one, sending millions of innocent creatures falling into the sea. The Drektar were ugly creatures like giant insects made of metal and hate. They didn't want to rule the Moralians or take their resources. They just wanted to destroy everything beautiful in the galaxy. Corporal Alex Turner, Pete called to his communications specialist. "Can you reach any surviving Moralians?" Alex worked his radio equipment with expert hands. After several minutes, he picked up a weak signal. "This is Moralian Emergency Center. 7, came a voice that sounded like singing water. "Please, if anyone can hear this, we have 30,000 children trapped in the floating schools. The raiders are coming, we need help." Pete looked at his small team. Kate Williams was checking her medical supplies. Chris Parker was loading explosive charges. The other Marines were preparing their weapons with calm efficiency. "Turner," Pete said, "tell them help is coming." "Sir," Alex said quietly, 12 people can't save 30,000 children." Pete smiled grimly. "Maybe not. But 12 humans are going to try." The human transport dove toward the planet's atmosphere. Drektar fighters immediately spotted them and gave chase. The transport wasn't built for combat, but Pete's pilot, Captain Jenny Scott, flew like her life depended on it. "Incoming missiles," Jenny announced calmly as enemy weapons streaked toward them. "Hold steady," Pete ordered. "Get us to those schools." The transport shook as Drektar weapons hit its shields. Sparks flew from damaged systems, but Jenny kept flying. She had flown rescue missions in Earth storms and wars. This was just another day at work. Below them, Emergency Center 7 was built into a floating crystal dome. Inside, 30,000 young Moralians huddled in fear. They looked like small dolphins with arms and large, intelligent eyes. The oldest was maybe 10 years old in human terms. Teacher Velkani tried to keep the children calm, but she could see the Drektar ships getting closer. In minutes, they would destroy the school just like they had destroyed everything else. Then something impossible happened. A small ship dove out of the clouds, flying straight at the largest Drektar raider. "What kind of ship is that?" asked one of the older children. Velkani had never seen anything like it. "I don't know, little one. But someone is trying to help us." Pete's team hit the Drektar ships like a hammer. Their transport wasn't a warship, but it carried 12 of the most dangerous humans in the galaxy. Marines who had trained their whole lives to fight in impossible situations. Chris Parker fired his explosive charges at a Drektar cruiser. The enemy ship's hull cracked open, and atmosphere poured out into space. The cruiser spun out of control and crashed into another raider. 2 down, Chris reported. 48 to go. Kate Williams was already planning her next move. As soon as they landed, she would have to treat wounded Moralians. She had studied their biology during the trip. Their crystal-like bones broke easily, but they healed fast if treated quickly. The transport broke through the Drektar fighter screen and landed hard on the floating school's platform. The Marines poured out, weapons ready. The first thing Pete saw was the children. Thousands of them, their large eyes wide with terror. Some were hurt from falling debris. Others clung to their teachers, making sounds like frightened wails. "Williams," Pete ordered, "set up a medical station. Parker, plant charges around the platform's weak points. If we have to, we'll drop this whole school into the ocean where it's safer." "Roger that, sir," his Marines responded. Kate ran to the nearest group of injured children. A young Moralian had a broken arm that looked like cracked crystal. Kate had never treated an alien before, but she could see pain in the child's eyes. "Hey there, little guy," Kate said softly, pulling out her medical kit. "I'm going to help. You okay?" She carefully set the child's arm and wrapped it in a healing bandage. The young Moralian made a sound like singing bells, the Moralian way of saying thank you. Outside, the Drektar raiders realized that someone was fighting back. A massive raider ship, bigger than 3 human destroyers, turned toward the school. "Contact," reported Corporal Alex Turner. "Big ugly coming our way, really big ugly." Pete looked at the approaching ship through his binoculars. Its weapons could destroy the school in seconds. There was no way to stop it with their small arms. "Sir," said Private Joe Carter, "we could evacuate some of the children to the transport." Pete did the math in his head. The transport could carry maybe 200 children. That left 29,800 who would die. "Negative," Pete said. "We don't leave anyone behind." "But sir," Joe protested, "we can't save them all." Pete checked his rifle and looked at his Marines. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes. But they were still here, still ready to fight. Maybe we can't save them all, Pete said, but we can make sure they don't die alone. The Marines spread out around the school platform. 12 humans against a ship that could destroy cities. The math was simple. They were going to lose. But math had never stopped humans before. Kate Williams continued treating wounded children, even as the enemy ship got closer. A little Moralian girl tugged on her uniform and pointed at Kate's wedding ring. Family? The child asked in broken English. Kate smiled and showed the girl a picture from her wallet, her husband and 2 daughters back on Earth. Yes, Kate said. Family. The Moralian child pointed at all the other children around them. Family too. Kate understood. These weren't just alien children. They were someone's family. They deserved to live just as much as her own daughters did. Chris Parker finished planting his charges and took position near the platform's edge. He could see the massive Drektar ship charging its main weapons. In 30 seconds, everyone on the platform would be dead. This is Chris Parker, he said into his radio. If anyone's listening, tell my mom I did good. Alex Turner was still trying to contact any surviving rescue ships. His equipment showed dozens of distress signals from around the planet, but no one was coming to help. The humans were alone. Turner to command, Alex broadcast on all frequencies. This is Corporal Alex Turner of Earth Defense Force. We are surrounded and outnumbered at Emergency Center 7. We have 30,000 civilians, mostly children. If anyone receives this message, tell our families we held the line. High Arbitrator Velnoth was watching from Harmony Station. The other council members stood beside him in stunned silence. They're not retreating, whispered the tree creature. They know they're going to die, said the scaled alien. Velnoth watched the 12 humans take defensive positions around the school. They were outnumbered 4,000 to 1. Their weapons couldn't even damage the enemy ship. But they stood their ground anyway. Why? Velnoth asked quietly. Why don't they run? On the platform, Pete Mason raised his rifle and aimed at the massive Drektar ship. His weapon couldn't hurt it, but he fired anyway. Around him, his Marines did the same. Teacher, Velkani watched the humans fight for children who weren't even their own species. She had never seen such courage. Why are they helping us? Asked one of her students. Velkani thought about the question. These humans had traveled across the galaxy to fight an impossible battle for strangers. Because, she said finally, some people fight for what they can get, others fight for what they can give. The Drektar ship fired its main weapon. The beam of energy lit up the sky like a falling star, heading straight for the school platform. But something unexpected happened. 3 more human ships dropped out of hyperspace, firing everything they had at the raider. The enemy beam missed the platform by inches, carving a trench in the ocean below. This is Admiral Jake Sullivan, came a voice over the radio. Sorry we're late, Pete. We brought some friends. Behind Jake's ships came vessels from across the galaxy. Not warships. The Council species didn't have those. But cargo ships, passenger liners, and research vessels. Hundreds of them, all crewed by aliens who had heard Alex Turner's final message. They couldn't fight the Drektar horde, but they could do something else. They could evacuate the civilians. As rescue ships swarmed around the planet, Pete Mason looked at his Marines. They had held the line long enough for help to arrive. Outstanding work, Marines, Pete said with pride. Outstanding work.